Swamiji, thank you very much for talking to me. It's very fascinating to
Thank
be
you
here.
for being here.
It's very fascinating to be here to see so many people who have come to meet you and talk to you. I want to start off this dialogue by asking you a very simple question. How do all of us find peace and happiness in our lives? What is the magic that we need to do to be happy and to be peaceful within?
Happiness is actually a alchemy process in us, independent of any external happening. We are trying constantly to achieve happiness in the wrong direction, thinking that only certain permutation combinations of the external happening can cause happiness in us. It is like a completely misunderstanding the chemistry. If A plus B is going to be C, and we go on try to add C plus D and reach the A, which it is never going to happen. Same way, the alchemy of the happiness has to be understood as an independent process than the external happenings and permutation combinations of the external happenings. This itself solves almost 80% of the problem. Then, building happiness is a separate profession we need to do, like making business.
Oh.
It is unfortunate we believe just by making business or building our career or building a relationship, happiness is achieved. No. It's a separate alchemy process. Of course, thousands of times simpler than building a career and profession. It may be simple, but it is a separate process. We need to look in to the basic understandings which makes that spiritual alchemy process of happiness happen in us. Maybe looking into that and following that science, happiness can be developed, and developing happiness can be the first fundamental foundational requirement even to develop our business and career and all the other things. Because if we develop happiness, peace will be side effect. Peace itself is not main effect. Peace will be side effect. That will equip us to handle all the things we need to do to build our career, profession, relationship and all that. Without building the happiness inside, if we directly start building external things, one, tremendous stress. Second, even after achieving the goal, we suddenly feel whatever we lost in the path is too much to reach this result. So that leads to frustration. I call it depression of success.
Oh.
Successful, but whatever we gave up looks too much we gave up to achieve this. After achieving that only we understand, I think this may not be that worthy. So building happiness is an independent science, alchemy, which every individual need to do before even beginning the life. If he missed, at least now.
Swamiji, in our lives, we are subject to so many external rules. We are told to behave in a particular manner, to live in a particular manner, to eat in a particular manner. Now, do we have command over our own lives? Do we have the ability and the right to decide what is good for us as we seek happiness and peace in our lives?
Whoever does not understand the context is bound by the rule. Whoever understands the context is empowered by the rule.
No.
Any rule, whether it's a traffic rule or dressing rule or eating rule, any behavior, any rule, if we do not know the context why it is formulated, that will be binding us. If we know why it is formulated, two things will happen. One, even while you follow, you will not feel you are bound. You will not be feeling bound if you stop in the red signal in the traffic rule, if you know the context. while you are following, you will not feel bound. Second, all the gray area will be your freedom. The freedom which comes by knowing the context is to end. One, even while you are following, you will not feel you are bound. Second, all the gray area is your freedom. But when we don't know the context, even while we are following, we will feel we are as slaves, and we do not know the gray area, and we do not have the freedom or command over the gray area. At end of the day, even powers is nothing but knowing the gray area of the cosmic rules. When we know the context of the cosmic rules is dharma. When we know the dharma, even if you follow the rules, you will not feel bound. And because you know the gray area, you know where to play. Knowing where you can play and where you need to obey itself is a power.
Swamiji, all of us want power in our lives. We want control, we want wealth, we want people to listen to us. And this need for power in all human beings is the root cause of much conflict. Because this power is exhilarating. How do we overcome this need for power within our souls, within our body, within our lives?
See, first, when we are not able to handle ourselves, control ourselves, when we are not able to come to a relationship with ourselves, we are trying to do this to others. For example, when we are not able to handle ourselves, if we are trying to behave like giving upon us, we will give upon the society. If we are trying to behave like controlling us, we will control the society. How we feel with ourselves, the same way only we will feel with the world. If somebody is trying to control others and feel controlling others gives them joy, there is a deep vacuum in them that they are not able to control themselves. So, they are struggling in controlling themselves. When we are struggling to control ourselves, we will also be struggling to control the world. If we come to completion with ourselves, knowing clearly, these all can be controlled. For example, my eating habit, sleeping habit, my digestion, all these can be controlled. But my blood circulation, my breathing, all these cannot be controlled. That is actually good for me. When we know, I myself put something in automatic gear for my own benefit. So, this what I put in automatic gear is not binding me. It is actually some of the responsibilities off from me, which I decided. For example, our breathing pattern, our blood circulation. We put all of them into automatic. By us, it is our decision. We put them in automatic so that we can attend to something else. End of the day, coming to the source of everything, context, and understanding everything we are responsible, makes thousands of things clear. When we start getting complete with ourselves, we will manifest the same completion with others. When we are not able to control ourselves, we will try to control us and control others. When we are not able to control ourselves and we give upon us, we will give upon us and give upon others. Everything, the way we behave, whether in a traffic signal or in our career or in our relationship, everything finally boils down to how we cognize us. How we behave with ourselves. Our idea about us is the source from which all this manifests. Even the need for the power is not always going to lead to a completion space or happiness space. We know.
We know. Yes.
But
know.
Still,
we do it. we do it.
I should say it's a blind spot.
Blind spot.
We know our goal is not going to make us feel the way we want. See, we want certain feeling at the end of the goal, and we want something as the goal, even though we know this feeling and that goal is not going to come together. Sometimes we just start traveling towards any one direction. So I should say, it is more or less our own blind spots, based on our blind spots inside us.
Inside us. But Swamiji, we live in a society. Now we have relationships. We are children of a parent. We got friends. We marry. We have spouses. We have children. We have colleagues. We have gurus. Now, this need to find peace within, how does it correlate with the need to have relationships? Can you let relationships dominate your life? How should two people deal with each other when they live together? They're part of a family.
With whoever we live, if we are remembering somebody or seeing somebody more than thrice a day, we are responsible for how they feel about us.
We are responsible.
Yes, sure. Because they are part of us.
Oh,
See, when you cognize everything, for example, if you cognize your peace, can you exclude your spouse and kids and cognize your peace?
no.
If you cognize your happiness, can you exclude them and cognize your happiness?
No.
So if somebody is part of your cognition, they are part of you.
We are all together.
They are part of you, us.
They're part of us.
Us. Whoever is part of you, when you cognize your fears, can you exclude them and calculate your fears? No. Something happens to them is also your fear.
Yes.
When you cognize about your joy, can you exclude them and cognize?
No.
So whoever is part of your fear, your joy, your pleasure, your pain, everything happening to you is part of you. So how you feel with them, you feel about them, how they feel about you, for that you are responsible. Unfortunately, we always think, why should I be responsible for what they think about me?
Yes.
Which is, see, you don't need to be responsible for the person who goes in the street, passerby. How he feels about you, you are not responsible. You don't need to be.
Yes.
Because he is not part of your life.
Yes.
But everyone who is part of your life, now all the titles you describe, spouse, son, father, daughter, guru, all these relationships are not passerby people. People who walk in the street. They are part of your very cognition. In the cognition, if they are part, how can you not be responsible for how they hold you or perceive you? The biggest blind spot all of us have is whoever is part of our thinking system. See, for example, when you visualize what is your joy, whoever is part of them, part of that visualization. When you visualize what is your fear, whoever is part of that visualization. When you visualize what is your happiness, whoever is part of that visualization, we are not even taking responsibility for what they think about us or how they hold us or how they perceive us. Taking responsibility for everyone who is part of our cognition, how they feel about us, how they hold us, how they expect us, bringing completion in that. Means, if they are holding us in some way, expecting us to be something, either you make them understand that expectation is not going to become real, or if you are very sure you are going to make it into reality, giving it as a commitment and removing the insecurity from them. This is what I call completion. Either you remove that expectation, the way they hold you, or you make it as a very vocal, oral, clear-cut commitment, and you stand by it. This removes, I can say, 99% of the incompletions.
But Swamiji, why is there conflict in families between two people?
But
Between
I'm-
spouses, why do people break up, don't live happily? How do you handle conflict and
Basic-
what causes this conflict?
Basically, you keep somebody as part of your cognition, but you are not ready to take the responsibility for how they expect you. See, when, for example, when somebody visualizes their joy, if they do not keep their spouse and children in that joy frame, then they don't have to be responsible. If they visualize fear, in that fear frame, if something happening to their child, their spouse is not there in that frame, then he doesn't need to bother about what they think about him or how they hold him. When your joy frame, greed frame, life frames has all of them as part of it, then we are responsible for how they hold us, what we stand for them, what is our commitments and relationships, what is our understandings and said unsaid agreements. Not leaving any gray area with the people who are in your life frame is relationship.
But Swamiji, this is very fascinating. Then, how do we relate to the rest of society?
What
What is our obligation to every creature
Yes, yes.
on this planet
So what I'm
and
saying-
everybody else?
Our immediate life frame, whoever is, maybe 25 people for a common man, a bigger family person may have 100 people in that frame. When we work with this 100 people or 25 people who are in our life frame and bring completion, we will learn the knack of keeping gray areas zero. What is your expectation of me and what is my commitment to you? What is our relationship? Defining it and living it, what I call integrity. When we work with these 100 people, we know very clearly how to work with the larger group. See, the Pindanda is our body. Our body related, wherever our body moves, these 100 people are the people who are in the part of the life where this body moves. If we bring completion with this group, then where our mind moves, means people are influenced by our thought currents, who are trying to influence our thought currents. We know how to bring completion with them. Then the larger society, ultimately, the whole universe is us. If we can master this simple completion with the Pindanda, means people who are in our cognition. As I said, if you are remembering thrice or seeing them thrice a day, they are part of you. They are part of your inner frame, life frame. Whether your joy, your pain, your bliss, your anxiety, our depression or our excitement, everything is dependent on them. The people who are in the inner frame, if we don't care about them, they can collapse our joy in 2 seconds. One phone call is enough.
Yes, yes, that's true.
Understand?
Yes.
Understand? So then we are responsible. Every human being should start ironing out the relationships, especially people who are in his life frame. In his life frame, this ironing out, this completion, the lowest gray area will bring tremendous joy, security in relationships among the beings. This will teach an individual how to deal with the larger group.
But Swamiji, if we have to find inner peace, we need to be happy. And we have so many obligations to everybody. Where is the time for ourselves? How do we reconcile this need to get along in the life frame, in the personal life frame, in the societal life frame, with our own space as individuals?
Happiness is not always time about the time. See, now you made a two statement. First, you made a statement, time. Second, you made a statement, space. If we are involved with everyone, where is the time? Then you made the a statement, where is our space? Actually, our space is independent of the time. If our space is evolved, 24 hours we will be happy.
Oh,
The time we are spending, see, you feel the time you are spending on others, where is time for me? Because you do not understand, we do not understand, all so-called, all the others are in our frame.
oh.
See, end of the day, our whole frame need to be happy for us to be happy, because that is what we call happiness.
It's an extension of our own persona.
You see, when we close our eyes and visualize what is happiness, we say, my son will be very happily sitting next to me. My spouse will be very happily talking to me. We will all be there somewhere in a vacation. Whatever you visualize, for that frame to become reality, you need to work in every person involved in that frame.
Yes.
So how can you call that as spending time on others?
Yes.
End of the day, the frame we are trying to make it as happiness. We need to take the responsibility for the whole, and working on all the people who are involved in that frame has to be only addressed as working on us, not giving time for others.
Oh, okay.
Because, see, or we should have a frame. I'll be all alone sitting in Himalayas in a alone cave, that is my joy. If we have that as a frame, then no problem.
No problem.
No problem. We don't need to work on anybody. We don't need to bother about anybody's happiness.
And-
What is our frame of happiness?
And we define it.
That we define. So when we define our happiness, we have all the people inside. But when we need to work, we think we should be working only on us, not on others. That's a blind spot.
That's the blind spot.
That's a blind spot.
What is your life frame?
So let me be very let me be very honest. With all my integrity, I tell you, when I look in on my joy or my bliss life frame, I do not see even me in that.
Oh,
Let me explain. When I look in and see, even this body is not in that frame, so what goes on to this body also is not going to affect my joy frame.
oh,
My joy frame is such a permanent bolted in my consciousness. All I need is even just a remembrance of my existence for me to be in joyful. So for example, for some years this body will function, then some years after that it may not function, it may stop functioning, but that is no way stopping my joy frame, because even this is not part of my joy frame.
I understand. Yes.
Then you may ask, then what for I am working?
Yes.
I am working casually. Whoever comes in front of me, I will try to make them joyful. And I will be working with all my integrity, but I am not bothered if they don't become joyful.
Oh,
Because I don't feel even this is inside my life frame. So even this is an extra.
outside.
Because even this body is an extra, everyone else is extra.
Yes.
Whenever we work for somebody's happiness who is not in our life frame, is service. If we are working for the people who are in our life frame for their happiness, it is responsibility, duty. And if we are not doing that, we are not even being responsible. We are irresponsible. If we are working for the happiness of the people who are out of our life frame, that is service.
Okay. But Swamiji, there is another big question that comes up. Why is there so much of conflict in the world when at the end of it, mortality is the only reality in life? We are born, and over a period of time, the body disappears, we go away. But why is there so much conflict when
I
we
should
know that
say-
everything ends somewhere?
I should say, all conflicts is the blind spots of the individuals fighting, showing only others' blind spots without showing their own blind spots. For example, there is A and B. A has blind spots, B has spots. If A sees his own blind spots, it will lead to completion. If he sees only the B's blind spots, it leads to conflict. All conflict, all conflict is nothing but inability to see our blind spot and too much of third eye on others' blind spots. See, when it comes to seeing others' blind spots, we use 3 eye, 4 eye, all eyes. When it comes to seeing our blind spot, we don't even use 2 eyes.
2 eyes.
End of the day, all conflicts, whether it is a conflict in the level of the home, should we have coffee or tea? Should we have pizza or burger? Idli or dosa? Starting from there, should we have this party or that party? Or this economic policy or that economic policy? Capitalism or communism? Whatever. To that level, everything is nothing but inability to see the individual blind spot or collective blind spot. For example, I have a blind spot that I don't want to work, but I feel everything exists, it should be shared to everyone, even though I have not worked for it. So it is an individual blind spot. Many individuals who have the same blind spot gather together and start communism. Understand? Now, many individuals who have the same blind spot, they just help each other, support each other, they feel so comfortable with each other, and then they decide, come on, let's all start a group. So whether it is a individual level, or social level, or the country level, or even in the universal level, or the cosmic level, every level, we try to take advantage of what we have not earned, and we try to keep that as a blind spot without looking. That is what leads to conflicts. Whether it is available resources or man-made resources like money, the concept of money, or the natural resources like water or land or minerals, whatever. End of the day, not seeing our own blind spot creates incompletion, and not only not completing it and seeing others' blind spot create conflicts, and many people of this level ganging up creates communism.
Swamiji, this raises Swamiji, this raises another important question.
Yes.
Why are some people so successful and many people are not so successful? Is it a lack of ambition, lack of energy, lack of self-realization? Why does success come to...
I should say, there is no being on the planet Earth which lacks ambition. Ambition is programmed in DNA.
in a DNA?
DNA. It is responsibility which need to be cultivated.
Responsibility.
Ambition is animalistic. Responsibility is human.
Ambition is animalistic.
Animalistic. By your very existence, you are ambitious. Only then you can grow from fish to tortoise to pig, and even that evolution. Even the evolution happens because of ambition. Ambition is in our very DNA. There is nobody which can say, I don't have ambition. People come and tell me, oh, I don't want money, Swamiji. I am not interested in it. I said, if it comes in lottery for $1 billion, no, then okay, Swamiji. Then it means what? I am not ready to work for money, not that I am not interested in money.
You have an interest.
So ambition is a nature, animalistic. It is responsibility that decides success.
And if a person is successful, what is his obligation to his fellow human beings, to the rest of the world?
What I am saying, whoever was in the frame when he was not successful, whoever was in the frame when he was moving towards successful, whoever is in the frame after his success, he is obligated to all of them.
He's obligated to all of
To
them.
all of them. It is his duty.
It is his duty.
Beyond the frame, it is his service.
And there's a duty to perform service.
Yes. No, I should say, let me be very straight. Whoever is involved in the frame when he was not successful, when you are working towards successful, when he is successful. That is dharma. He has to be responsible for all of them in the
Yes,
frame.
yes.
Beyond that is a punya.
It is punya.
If he goes beyond the frame
Ah.
and does good,
Ah.
who is not involved in his success, that is punya, that is service.
Is punya required?
I should say,
Why should you have punya?
Hindu tradition expects punya also to be a part of the success.
Punya to be a part of the success.
Part of the success. You see, as the Shastra Pramana, if I refer to Hindu tradition, Agamas insist on us serving beyond our frame. Agama insists not only people who are in your frame, but it says very clearly, the first responsibility and priority is people who are in the frame. People who have been part of your life, your frame, when you were not a success or when you are working for a success or after you become successful. They only become your first priority. But they recommend always, you don't stop there. Because when you start taking responsibility for all the people within your frame, you develop an infrastructure and tool for taking responsibility. Let it not be unused after you complete everyone who are in your frame. So even serving, you need to develop certain infrastructure.
Yes.
If you have developed it
Yes.
for all the people who are part of your success,
Yes.
then after that, why should that infrastructure be just
Remain
keeping
there.
quiet?
Yes.
Wear and tear. Let it be put for the people who are outside the frame. That is called punya. So, from Shastras, if I go back to Hinduism, the source of Hinduism, Hinduism insists on punya.
On punya.
On punya. It insists you do that. Maybe I should say that punya keeps a lot of people not entering into immoral and wrong way of hurting the principle on which we built our wealth. For example, if we don't care about the society at all who are outside our frame and they are deprived, they may not be sitting and waiting for all the dharma analysis and all that. They will just come and throw a stone and
Take it
steal what
away.
we have.
Yes.
So for that not to happen, this kind of a balance helps in a big way.
Then Swamiji, what is the role of dharma in our lives? What is dharma? How do you define dharma? And how did it come into being? How does it exist? How should we look at dharma in our day-to-day life, in our extended life?
See, if I have to give a literal meaning of the word dharma, I should say natural law of life. That's the
Natural law of
literal
life.
meaning.
Yes.
If I have to give my interpretation, in every level, an individual's dharma is, it's my interpretation. I wanted to keep these two separate. The Shastra's definition of dharma is natural law of life.
Natural law
That
of
is
life.
the literal meaning. If I have to apply that in our day-to-day life, in an individual level, the individual's dharma is understanding the self, world and God. That understanding is the first dharma. With this understanding, he starts making decisions in the world. How I should behave with people who are near to me. How I should behave with the people who are far away from me. How I should behave with people who have a conflict of interest. All these cognitions, decisions, he comes to based on what he thinks as himself and world and God. Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. Understanding these three is a basic dharma of an individual. Then the dharma comes, means next level. What is our dharma towards the society? What is our dharma towards the larger country? What is our dharma to our own clan? For example, doctors. Doctors have dharma to the doctor's clan. Engineers have dharma to the engineer's clan. Lawyers have dharma to the lawyer's clan. Entrepreneurs have dharma to the entrepreneur's clan. All that comes next. But all these questions, all these understandings of dharma and questions related to dharma can be answered by one formula. What is the idea I have about me? What is the idea I have about the world? What is the idea I have about God? Me, playing temporarily in the world, want to be permanently resting in God, is my dharma. For that, how I should behave with the world, how I should behave with me, how I should behave with God, should be the scale with which we measure at every moment how we should behave.
Swamiji, we learn in the epics that when dharma is overtaken by adharma, avatars come. We get a new being who comes and restores the balance. How can this balance differ and become one-sided? Adharma getting more than dharma. How can it happen when people are in a constant move to live as per dharma?
Natural evolution happening to the next level is the natural law of life. We not allowing that natural evolution in our day-to-day life is called patterns.
Oh.
For example, naturally in this age, this should be my ambition. When you are young, if you are not liberal, we don't have heart. After 40, still if you are liberal, you don't have brain. No, these are all the natural evolutions should be happening to us.
Conservative.
It should be happening to us. If we are not letting the natural evolutions happening to us, it is called patterns. Too many people are not letting the natural evolution to happen is the cosmic pattern. Whenever an individual is stuck with the individual pattern, to break that pattern and liberate him, Guru appears in life. Whenever the universe is stuck with an universal pattern, to break that and liberate universe, an incarnation appears. Too many people, I should tell you, during Mahabharata time, too many people are stuck in a pattern called trying to grab without working for it. The extreme consumerism. Anything I see is mine, I do not need to work for it. The extreme consumerism was becoming a mainstream thought current. And it was becoming a strong pattern where the production has dropped more than 90%, but the need and the demand and the greed and the grabbing in any method is becoming lifestyle. So to break that pattern and reduce the load on the planet comes Krishna.
Oh.
If you see the whole Mahabharata war, the main thought current trying to have without working for it.
Trying to get more and more.
Trying to have without taking responsibility for
them.
It is not that whether Dharmaraja rules or Duryodhana rules, what is there? But the problem is Dharmaraja is ready to take the responsibility for the people. He is ready to set that trend as a model. So many people also follow that model. With Duryodhana, when he is not ready to set the trend, Krishna knows if Duryodhana becomes a king, Duryodhana type of people only will become a model. So, breaking the wrong models, setting the right trend is the incarnation's job. Breaking the wrong patterns, setting the right trend is the job of an incarnation. When it becomes too much, for example, one small example I can give. 100 people are living in a community. 80 people are very responsible. 20 people are not responsible. We can enjoy their irresponsibility as cuteness. See, so cute from morning till night, he just sits, eats and sleeps, does not do anything. Okay. But if that becomes 80, it is no more cute.
It becomes a majority.
It becomes not only that, weight.
Weight.
So, when it becomes weight, and even after it becomes weight, and they are not ready to change that pattern, it becomes a strong thought current. Then no other way. Either the pattern or the persons who are not ready to give up that pattern need to be eliminated. Eliminated. The thought current and the model need to be eliminated.
So you
Otherwise,
justify
planet
violence.
Earth, planet Earth cannot survive.
So you justify violence.
No. Please understand. Let me be very clear. Let me here come very clearly. I should look upon, it should not be looked upon as violence. It should be looked as a surgery.
But who
See,
decides?
yes, that is what. Let me look at that. The outcome of after what happens decides whether it was a surgery or violence. After effect of the Krishna has decided what Krishna did is a surgery.
Yes.
So it is only the after effect we can label it whether it was a surgery or violence.
But who decides the
Let
time
me be
is
very clear.
opportune?
Let me be very clear. In Krishna's whole Mahabharata and everything also, he gave enough
Time.
of long
Rope.
rope. He tried his best. It's not that he did not try. He tried his best. And even after that, see, many of those people who are killed in the war, they themselves have openly declared that it is better to die than to give up this pattern.
Oh,
Whether it is Duryodhana,
yes.
or Karna,
They refuse to
or
change.
Bhishma, or Drona, all of them, what they finally declared, it is better to die because they know there is death waiting. Death became a better choice for them than transformation. Only they were eliminated. End of the day, they chose that. When they chose that, how can this be violence?
This can't be violence.
I should say it is a more or less mass suicide. See, the whole Akroni Sena, including Bhishma, Drona, Karna, everyone who is standing in Duryodhana's side, all of them know Krishna is an incarnation.
And all of them know they're in the wrong.
All of them know they are on the wrong side.
All of them know the
All
result.
of them know they can't win.
They can't win.
They can't win against Krishna. They know.
Yet why did they do it?
That it means it is a suicide, not violence. It should be very clear. It's a
Yes.
suicide, not violence.
Yes.
End of the day, because all of them know that they can't win over the Krishna.
They can't
You think Bhishma had a courage that he can win over the Krishna?
No.
He knows he is going to fall.
Yes.
And that is why he kept Karna as a reservation.
Yes.
He tells Duryodhana, when I fall, you need a best commander. That is why I am keeping Karna. I abuse Karna, so he will not pick up weapon under me. So you have a safety. See,
Succession.
Bhishma
Yes.
abuses Karna.
Yes.
So Karna says, I will not pick
fight
up weapon as
you're
long as
there.
Bhishma is alive.
Yeah.
Then Duryodhana, he calls Duryodhana and tells, I am keeping him as your reserve. Reserved for your security. If I am gone, he will be there for you.
Yes.
So don't think I have done something wrong. I have done some good for you.
Yes.
It means what? He knows he is going to fall.
Yes.
You think Drona had the confidence that he will not fall in front of Krishna?
No.
He was very clear. But he was very clear, I will work because I ate.
Yes.
So as my integrity to what I ate, I'll do it.
Yes.
So end of the day, all of them, it is a suicide.
Yes. Swamiji, one big question comes. You know, you spoke about God. Why is this feeling in society around the world? My God is better than your God. And why is this conflict about God? Who is this God and what is this God? There's so many people say, my God is better than your God is a lesser God, somebody is the children of a lesser God, and they all fight.
See.
And throughout human society, more death and conflicts have occurred because of this fight between gods. What is this? What is this God?
End of the day, to tell you honestly, my God is the supreme, is nothing but saying, I am supreme.
I am supreme.
See, our
So
own
God is an
ego, we
alibi.
project it on God.
God is an alibi.
God is just our projection. What we want to tell the world. it will be too obvious if we tell directly, I am superior. Then immediately we will come for a war. I don't have time for immediate war. So what to do? How to declare this in a very diplomatic way? In a very diplomatic way, to trying to declare this is what is my God is superior. The whole, if you analyze thoroughly the whole Hindu tradition, the beauty is the whole, whether it's a Upanishads, Shaivism, Vaishnavism, or the Sakta, or Ganavatya, all the Sampradayas and Paramparas, they give importance to Ishtanishta, means your God is the ultimate, and from that all the energies come out, but you do not have any right to disturb somebody else's feeling. Their Ishta is the highest.
Oh,
The Ishtanishta is never allowed to become fanaticism. See, the Ishtanishta, for example, if it is a Shiva temple, Shiva will be ultimate. All the believers of Shiva will be worshipping him. And no doubt, in Jagannath temple, Shiva is the guardian.
guardian.
Yes.
Yes.
If you see Brahma and Shiva,
Yes, yes.
both of them stand outside as
Yes,
guardian.
yes.
In Tiruvannamalai temple, Brahma searches the Shiva's head and Vishnu searches the Shiva's feet.
Yes.
The Ishtanishta and the universality of the supreme principle both coexisted in Hindu Sampradayas. If you see, our Ishtanishta was never allowed to become fanaticism. If I go into more details and Shastra Pramanas, it is very clearly declared, you have all the right to see your Ishta as the source of all the gods and goddesses, but you do not have a right to put this as a ultimate truth on others.
On others. So
It
it's
is
very
very clear.
individualistic,
It is not, we call it subjective truth.
subjective truth.
It's a truth for the subject. It's a subjective truth. And ultimately, all sampradayas, including Shaiva, Vaishnava, Shakta, all sampradayas agree, divine is beyond any forms. It is for our devotion, he assumes the form. Like a water has no solid form, but when the cool breeze happens on the water, it takes the
freezes.
shape of ice.
Yes.
So our devotion gives this form. Behind this, the source has no form.
Has no form.
Source is beyond form. Our devotion gives this form. Even the greatest devotee knows the form with which he is worshipping will lose its form when he loses his form.
Oh,
See, as long as I have this form, I need a form. So I relate with it. At one point, both the forms will merge into the source. We call this Jnanavarishta Bhakti. If you see, even a common villager in Hindu tradition will have this Jnanavarishta Bhakti. If you see this, you will see in his house many gods in his puja room. I should say, the future of the humanity is not for one God religions. It is for either many God or all God religions.
all God religions. So there'll be no conflict.
Not only there can be no conflict, there can be even understandings, higher understandings evolving. Not only no conflict, there is something called higher understandings. Means each of the God is infinitely powerful, potential, and this infinity is not bound by only one. Infinite infinities.
Infinite infinities.
See, even the one God religions also accept infinity of that one God.
Yes.
Infinity of the one God is a mentally retarded theory. How can infinity be only one?
Infinity cannot be one. It is
So,
many. is infinite.
Oneness only can be infinity,
Yes.
not one.
Yes.
So infinity is self-conflict meant infinity of one is a self-conflict mentally retarded theory.
Self.
See, what I am saying, infinity is the peak conception, visualization, fantasy of logic, length. When somebody's logic is very, very deep and broad, the highest he can grasp is infinity. Unfortunately, his whole energy is sucked by the intellect. He has grasped the infinity, but his heart is left with no energy. That is why he did not grasp the infinity is infinity, not one.
Not one.
When we don't have a heart, only head, we consume infinity only one. When we have enough head and enough heart, we understand infinity, infinity.
But Swamiji, it raises a very important question. Is there a God at all? Or we have created a God just to be happy, to find certainty in our lives?
For example, surely there is a higher independent intelligence which generates, operates, destroys, dilutes, liberates. There is the independent intelligent force, no doubt.
A force.
Sure, independent intelligent force available, no doubt. The many ideas of gods with which we play, those ideas may be created by us and we are playing with it. God exists, not as we define him.
God exists, but not as we
Exists,
define.
but not as we define him.
But it is such a concept is very difficult for the human mind to understand. We all want to see something.
No, I should say, it is very easy for human mind to understand, very difficult for the people who have not yet evolved to be a human being, but in the human frame to understand.
Does the avatar have God, or is the avatar a manifestation of God?
I should say, avatar is the Vyakta component, means manifest component of the unmanifest God.
Of the unmanifest God.
See, avatar is the statement of God. God is the state of avatar.
Explain to us, Swamiji.
Avatar is the statement of God.
Yes.
Manifest of unmanifest.
Yes.
God is the unmanifest of the manifest.
You're essentially saying that there is a force above
Yes.
us which is all
There is
pervading.
a force, I should say, not above us, above us.
Okay.
The above us gives a different context.
Yes.
Above us
Yes.
means see, what is unmanifest in all of us? I should say not even this way. It's a this way or this way. It
That
is
means
like
it's everywhere.
See,
It's everything.
is if when I say above us, it becomes like this. Or I should say, the air we are all breathing, the space we are all in, as independent life, the source of that life is God.
There is a source.
There is a source, and it is intelligence.
But Swamiji,
It is not just power, automated mechanism or automatic mass software, like how they try to show in the Matrix movie. No. It is not a large automated matrix. No. It is an independent intelligence which can make decisions,
and very
which
large
can
decisions.
intervene.
Large decisions.
What I am saying, not only large decisions, you see, it can make the decisions as big as moving the planet Earth closer to sun or far away to sun, and it can make decisions as simple as removing one small Rudraksha from this bead. It is capable of micromanagement and macromanagement.
If it's capable of micromanagement, what is our role as human beings? Are we all Katputlis? Are we all puppets in a big puppet show where somebody is doing a superior power? Or do we have a right to decide and do things for ourselves?
Yes. Now let me, first of all, even in puppet show, puppet is not completely controlled.
Puppet is not completely
Yes.
controlled. Yes.
The bit, if the puppet, in the puppet show, if it's a 8-bit, only the 8-bit is controlled, not this bit, not this bit.
Yes. Yes.
Even in puppet show, puppets are not completely controlled. So, in our life also, we are not completely controlled and we are not completely free. There is certain amount where we have a freedom. For example, everything affects our life. We have a freedom to decide.
Full freedom.
Full freedom. Everything affects others' life. We do not have a freedom. Because others' goodness is involved in it.
So everything that affects
you-
everybody, we don't have the
We
freedom.
don't have freedom. Everything affects our life. If you sit and list out those things, all of them we have a complete control, complete freedom. It's like a cow is tied with a 2-meter rope length. Within the 2 meter, he can sit, stand, grass, do whatever he wants. Within the 2-meter length, if he behaves properly, the rope can become 10 meter or liberated once for all.
Yeah.
So within the 2 meter, how he behaves decides the length of the rope or the liberation. Same way, we are all empowered with certain freedom. Within that freedom, how much of responsibility with which we behave, that decides whether our freedom length is going to increase
Or decrease.
or decrease or once for all freed. When somebody establishes his track record, his freedom is only going to do good to others. Suddenly you see he is completely free.
No.
All the resources are at his disposal.
Everything comes to him.
Everything comes to him. All the things are under his disposal. And there is no, he doesn't feel suffocated by not having money, time, intelligence, energy, resources, anything which he wants to achieve. I am seeing very clearly. I tell you from my own experience. Whatever I want to do, I am seeing very clearly everything automatically aligns. I just have to see and enjoy the whole fun. If a power is manifesting in this body, I am already seeing the structure to reach this power to the world also gets assembled. Along with this manifestation, that structure also manifests. So I am very clear, there is a very powerful intelligence operating, and that does not mean I am sleeping. I am participating actively only to enjoy.
Only to enjoy that. Now, Swamiji, so many people are listening to you. They come here to willing to talk to you. What is motivating them? What is compelling them to come here? What is attracting them to come here? What is making them come thousands of kilometers from all over
Don't
the
you
world?
think that it is reasonable to ask this question to them and then to me? You understand? This question, I think, they should answer.
What are the core values of Sanatana Dharma? Sanatana Dharma is an open architecture, like Balaji says. It's not a closed proprietary system. It's an open architecture. And being an open architecture, it has got multiple manifestation, multiple interpretation, multiple use, and nobody yet knows what it is. Yet it sustains, it promotes, it liberates, it goes on, and is almost eternal. So what are the core values of this Sanatana Dharma?
If I have to put the whole thing in nutshell, the essence of Sanatana Hindu Dharma. See, we all accept the Vedas or the introductory literature of Sanatana Hindu Dharma. If I have to talk from the context of the Vedas, the Shastra Pramana, I should say basic, conflict-free, exciting, blissful life with understanding of Jiva, Ishvara, Jagat is Sanatana Hindu Dharma.
Say it again.
conflict-free,
conflict-free,
exciting,
blissful life,
with understanding of
understanding of
self, world,
world,
God.
God,
Jiva,
Jiva,
Jagat,
Jagat,
Ishwara.
Ishwar.
With this understanding, living blissfully is Sanatana Hindu Dharma.
And living blissfully.
Actually, conflict-free and blissful is one and the same, I should say.
Okay.
Blissful life with understanding of these three is what I call Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Now comes the supplementary answers like a karma theory. What is actually karma theory? Karma theory is nothing but establishing a right cognition between us and the world and the God. What is, end of the day, reincarnation theory? Establishing the right cognition about us, world and the God. All the core values of Sanatana Hindu Dharma, whether it is ahimsa, or satya, or asteya, or aparigraha, yoga, kriya, everything if you see, it boils down to this one core, bringing understanding between Jiva, Ishwara, Jagat, and bringing bliss between these three. Bringing bliss with this understanding of these three is the essence of Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Living happily with Jagat, with Ishwara is all Sanatana Hindu Dharma.
Swamiji, does it mean that a simple person who's got a simple, let's say, view of life, and a highly evolved person who's got a very different view of life, all of them can live happily within the same context,
one thing.
or we have to find our own self-realization to be truly happy? Is ignorance also happiness?
No, see, ignorance is happiness as long as it is not hit. For example,
As long as it is?
it is not hit.
It is not hit.
Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
In India, many of the compounders become doctors. Like if they work with a doctor for 5 years, they see, oh, stomach pain, yellow tablet.
Yeah.
Knee pain, green tablet.
Yeah.
And headache, black tablet.
Yeah, rules.
He will be a successful doctor as long as the
yeah.
pharmaceutical companies don't change the color. Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance
as
is
long
bliss.
as the context does not change.
When the context becomes complex, you get stuck.
So, ignorance is bliss if you don't change your city, if you don't change your street, if you don't change your life in any way. Same people, and people also don't change.
But things change.
Then ignorance cannot be bliss. So the so-called simplicity, cuteness associated with the simplicity cannot be the permanent solution.
Human beings have a higher role.
See, the simplicity which comes even after the higher evolvement is called integrity. So integrity is the solution, not the simplicity.
Not simplicity.
Because simplicity is more or less like a compounder becoming doctor.
So are you saying that we must go above an animal existence
Yes.
to try the true meaning of our existence as human beings? Because we have a mind.
Yes. We should evolve higher than the mind.
Higher than the mind.
Higher than the mind. I call it completion.
Completion.
Completion. Where our depth radiates what we are, independent and irrelevant to the mood swings we go through. Our core stands by what we are, independent of the mood swings we go through. Whether up or down, mood swings come or go, good or bad, right or wrong, accepted or rejected, whatever. The core depth standing to its integrity and constantly ready to evolve only in the line of integrity. Not by these ups and downs. If these ups and downs starts guiding, the person is called powerless. If his integrity is only his guiding force, he is called powerful.
Why do you have a limited life? Is it the body by necessity has a limited life?
Body or whatever I am using has no limited life. I am seeing very clearly. For example, this body is going to be operating, functioning for 126 years.
126.
Yes, 126 years, I'm going to be using this body. I am very clear, within that 126 years, I would have established the concept on at least 1 million bodies. After that, I may not need this one body to be continuously functioning.
So you live in 1,000,000 bodies.
At least 1 million bodies. See, I am a concept using this body and manifesting. At least 1 million bodies. This concept will be using to manifest itself. Then I may not need just this one body to be continuing to operate. So let this rest. Good friend helped me to reach out to 1 million people.
Swami,
Rest
okay.
in peace.
Okay, Swamiji, let me raise a very large issue. Now the world is suffering from lack of sustainability. The world is suffering from an overdose of prosperity in some areas. There is terrorism around the world. Now what can Sanatana Dharma offer the world to restore balance, make the world much more sustainable? What is the message or meaning that Sanatana Dharma can give?
Let me look at from the prism of Shastras this whole happening. You raised two major issues.
Yes,
Over prosperity
yes,
and terrorism.
yes,
When we try to suck the nature more than we need, call that accumulation as a prosperity. Is not prosperity, it's a dead load.
dead load.
Grains should be grown and eaten.
Yes,
Cannot be stored for next 25 years.
yes,
If we are planning for storing it for next 25 years,
yes,
our agriculture is also wrong,
yes,
and the storing method also will be wrong, and the quality of the grains will be wrong. This whole thing, terrorism instigated insecurity, insecurity instigated sucking of the planet Earth. This whole cycle ultimately boils down to just two. One, the basic Hindu truth, let us all coexist.
let us all coexist.
Let me give you the original exact verse. The creation is described in our Shastras when Sadashiva, the cosmic oneness, when he decided to become many, the principle he declares to himself, the only commandment is, let us all coexist together and abhayam sarvabhudebhyo. Let us all be protection for all of us.
Let us be protection for all of us.
All of us. Let us all be protection for all of us. If you this abhayam sarvabhudebhyo, if you see the whole concept, let us all be protection to all of us. So the basic commandment, let us coexist. Let us all be protection to all of us. Because the moment there is two, there will be conflict. So during the conflict, the methodology for conflict resolution is protection for all of us together.
Together,
Yes. Not exclusion.
not exclusion.
The problem is now everyone wants to make the world peaceful, but excluding the people who are not accepting their ideas.
Say it again.
Everyone wants to make the world peaceful, but excluding the people who are not accepting their idea of peace.
So excluding them, how can it be peaceful?
So excluding somebody else's idea of peace cannot be the conflict resolution methodology. For any conflict resolution, the basic commandment is let us all coexist and let us all be protection for all of us together. Means abhayam sarvabhudebhyo. Abhayam sarvabhudebhyo does not mean I give protection to all, we give protection to all for all of us together.
We're all bound together.
We are all, the relationship between all of us, the integrity between all of us is protection for all of us.
Protection. Swamiji, how do we live with nature without over-exploitation so that climate change does not take place? All creatures on this planet have a right to survive and we don't destroy them. How do we make this happen along with material prosperity?
Is our body what type of food? Our body is designed for what type of food? Eat that food. Our body is designed for what type of clothes? Use that clothes. If we go for organic, when I say organic, I mean the natural flow of existence. The fur is needed for that animal.
Not for us.
Surely not for us.
Not
if
for
it
us.
is, if we need, God would have provided that.
Yes. Yes.
He would have provided that for us.
Yes.
Animal protein is for that animal, not
for
for
us.
us. If we needed it, He would have provided for us.
Yes.
What for we are created. If we go to the core and go with the flow of our core, the life will be best. Going with the flow of our organism is what I call organic. Whether in a food, or lifestyle, or furnitures, or the clothes we use, or the gadgets we use, or the items we use, in everything. Going with our organism. Our body is not mechanism. It is allopathy which declares this as a mechanism. Ayurveda declares this as organism. Going with the flow of this organism is what I call Vedic lifestyle, Charya. This lifestyle is the solution. And also I want to tell, at least at present situation, it is an impractical solution. I know.
It's impractical.
Impractical, I know. But
Move towards that. Move towards that.
move towards that, that is also a long-term solution.
Okay.
But we can do one thing. Even small responsible individuals start creating a model. The models can become anytime models and tip the point.
Can come to the tipping point.
Actually, we always think, how can the models change the society? But till now, if you see, all big changes happen from the models.
From the models. So what is your...
It is a model. As long as only few people think it's a model. If few more people start understanding it, it is a discovery. If few lakhs of people start understanding it, it's a lifestyle.
Swamiji, what is your message to world leaders on sustainability and this violence? I mean, what would you tell them to do as the two important things?
If somebody listens, I'll tell them these two. At least you change your life to this organic way and be bold to tell the world you are living this way. Always, all leaders lead more people by the subtle power than the hard power.
By the soft power, subtle power.
By the soft power than the hard power. I have seen hard power decisions are always overturned when that leader goes away. But the soft power influence he created never goes away, even after the leader goes away.
It sustains itself.
I will naturally ask any leader who listens to me, make this as your soft power influence. It is a soft power influence leads larger impact.
So lead the life
For
you want.
example,
Yeah.
if something is made as a hard power rule, like a political rule, law by Obama, Trump will overturn it. If something has been lived by somebody as a soft power and created an ambience, ecology, influence, a spiritual or the atmosphere or the conceptual infrastructure, if that is the way it was presented, nobody can influence and change it, overturn it. If we are looking for a permanent solution, it has to be soft power.
It has to be soft power only.
It has to be soft power.
Swamiji, what is the role of gurus in our lives and in Sanatana Dharma? What is the role of the guru? Why
Just-
can't all of us become gurus? Except we won't have followers.
Now I tell you,
Ah,
making yourself as a follower for you is the first job of guru.
Making yourself?
Making yourself as your follower
Ah.
is the first job of Guru. Only who made himself as his follower can be a Guru to make others follow him. Because nobody is a fool. Everybody goes to the depth and analyzes Guru. Actually, they analyze Guru 100 times more than they can analyze themselves. No, I tell people.
Because
see,
there are
only,
hundreds of people seeing the Guru. Right? Nobody is seeing them.
Only when they analyze them, they use 2 eyes or lesser. When they analyze Guru, they use 1,000 eyes.
Yes, there are 1,000 eyes.
And basically, I'm telling you, Guru is the most scrutinized person. First, if you do not have a blind spot, you can be Guru of you. And if you are able to help others to find their blind spot, you can be Guru of them.
Oh,
Basically, the job of the Guru is nothing but helping every individual to manifest their ultimate reality.
and the Guru is needed.
I should say, without Guru also you can manifest, which takes few thousand births and deaths. See, can you say, without GPS, can I reach America? You can.
It takes a long time.
Sometimes you may not even make it. So GPS, Guru Positioning System. Makes journey easy, joyful, and certain. A certain kind of a certainty. Because, see, when you see somebody swimming, beyond logic, you are convinced you can swim. When he can swim, why not me? Then you start taking the steps for it. So surely, GPS helps. Makes it easy.
Swamiji, how should followers of Sanatana Dharma protect Sanatana Dharma? Sanatana Dharma now is, some people are trying to work against Sanatana Dharma because Sanatana Dharma is an open architecture, it's an open system. People have one closed system. How should followers of Sanatana Dharma who believe in transparency, in openness, in the freedom of the mind, in the right to decide for yourself, protect the legacy and Sanatana Dharma so that it sustains for itself?
Two things. All closed theologies need to be marketed, promoted, converted, forced, enforced. All open architectural system need to be consumed to be preserved.
Need to be consumed. That's a good one.
They need people to be converted. They need to market to keep themselves alive and active. We need to be consumed to keep ourselves alive and active. They need converted people, followers. We need more consumers.
More consumers.
All we need is people who are enjoying it. This tradition is alive, kept alive, not by marketing, not by conversion. To tell you honestly, most of the Hindu gurus do not even know the ritual to convert somebody to Hinduism, and many of them believe there is no such ritual.
Yes.
Actually, in Agama, there is a ritual for anybody to accept Sanatana Hindu Dharma, but it's not that popular. Leave all that. The Hindu tradition was never kept alive by marketing or conversion or any of it. It is kept alive by the people who are consuming, enjoying, celebrating. We need more and more people to consume, enjoy, celebrate. I tell you, after the IT revolution, internet revolution, the information, open source, all the informations have become open.
Open.
I tell you, the new modern mind evolving, only Hinduism is going to survive.
Only Hinduism.
I am telling you, because this mind is going to scrutinize everything.
Question everything.
Question everything. Now the freedom is such, 6 months you can be male, 6 months you can be female. Everything has evolved.
Yes.
So people are looking for choices. People are exploring all choices.
And information available.
Information. In next few years, I am looking at the whole thing. When somebody becomes 18, he can decide his language, his country, his career, his gender. Why not his religion? Naturally, the new generation is going to choose a religion which gives him enough
Freedom.
of choices
Enough
with
choices.
depth.
With depth.
Enough of choices with depth. And good or bad, right or wrong, fortunately, unfortunately, only Sanatana Hindu Dharma has that capacity. It can give you choices and depth. It can give you choices without compromising on depth.
On depth.
On depth. Without compromising on depth, giving choices. That is naturally going to be the... See,
So you're saying
why we go to mall?
Because so many choices.
Choices. And the depth is not compromised. The
Yes.
quality is not compromised.
Yes. Yes.
So the same quality.
Yes.
Only Sanatana Hindu Dharma is a spiritual mall.
Spiritual mall.
Sanatana Hindu Dharma is a spiritual mall.
That is heresy.
You can give any name. You can give any name. You can give any name.
Yes.
But Sanatana Hindu Dharma is a spiritual mall. Multiple choices without compromising on depth and quality.
So are you saying open system, open source will dominate the world against closed proprietary systems?
Yes. Not only open system is going to dominate, I tell you the closed systems are going to be rejected by the consumers. Fortunately, the whole world is now consumers. They
Yes.
are no more even citizens.
They become consumers.
They become consumers. See the world, which is the largest city in the world where largest number of people are living. Internet. 2
Yes.
billion people are living at it at any given time.
Yes.
So the whole world is no more citizens of certain religion. Sorry, they are not followers of certain religion. They are not citizens of certain
They're
country.
seekers of truth.
All, see, the citizen belongs to certain language, belongs to certain caste, belongs to certain gender. All these have become smaller part of their identity. Consumerism is the largest part of their identity. Every man's action, how his actions are inspired, his thinking is inspired. If you go to the depth, see, if you do the depth postmortem of somebody, 2% of his actions are forced, pressurized by what he feels as his religion. 2% is influenced by what he feels as his language. 3% is influenced by what he feels as his age. If you analyze, do the postmortem, the largest percent of his actions and thought currents are influenced by being a consumer. What is good for me? What should be my actions to make me better? The consumeristic idea. So that has become the largest driving force of the human being. That is why I am saying only Hinduism has a future. The consumeristic brain, only if we are able to cater to them, we have a future.
Yes.
Any ideology, any theology, which can stand the demands of the consumeristic brain, only that is going to be the future ideology and theology. That is going to be Agamas and Hinduism.
That's fascinating, Swamiji. That's very fascinating.
You will see, because it is not that Hinduism does not have rules. It very clearly says rules is only when you are not able to handle yourself. For example, you are not able to wake up in the morning and do yoga. Then a rule comes, you have to do cold water bath in the morning and do yoga.
Oh.
But once you start enjoying yoga, the rule is not there anymore for you, then you are given the context, maintain your breath this long, blood pressure this much, and this should be the way of your bowels functioning. This is all is health. You continue. Then nothing comes. After that, no rule.
No
You
rule.
are given the context and you can manage that with your breathing, with your exercise when you want, what do you want to do. So the Vidhi Nisheda is given only when you are not able to handle yourself. The moment you are able to handle yourself, you are given jnana and given freedom. Charya, lifestyle is only in the initial. Then you are given vidya, jnana and given freedom. The religions which work in this fashion only as a future, and if any religion want to survive the consumeristic brain of the new generation, please come and adopt the structure of Hinduism.
An open architecture.
And I am also seeing many of the liberal groups from other religions are slowly absorbing our style. See, by conversion, by promoting something being marketed, all is old style till the Second World War. There is not going to be a Third World War.
No.
We
no
are
third
very
war.
sure.
Very sure.
When we are very sure there is not going to be a Third World War, the religion spread by marketing, conversion, cohesion, all that has no future.
Yes.
Because their infrastructure for spreading is no more useful for human society.
Humans are rejecting.
And the infrastructure we built for generations, 60,000 years for our survival, is becoming now useful, and that is what is being consumed by left and right. So the future demand and the infrastructure we built are fortunately matching. That is why I am saying only we have future.
That's very interesting.
See, for example, even as initial level guy, my brahmachari can sit and do Vakyartha Sadas. Vakyartha Sadas means convincing the consumeristic brain that this is the best technology and software to adopt to run your life. What is religion? The best software to run your life. Software for being is the religion.
Software for being.
Software for the being. So, even my brahmachari can convince any being this is the best software available. It is not, see, if other closed sources are Windows 1, this is not even Windows, it's a door. Understand? Now human beings need convincing and adapting. When they adapt and see the Sakshi Pramana, this was the infrastructure we were building for 60,000 years. We did not build big weapons to convert people. Fortunately, it's like suddenly overnight, the alternative for petrol is discovered. All the roads are now waste. All the petrol vehicles are waste.
Yes.
Suddenly we have invented a method. You wear it something like a shoe and you raise yourself 300 feet and walk and reach where you want. What will happen to the whole petroleum and car industry? And the roads?
Redundant.
Not only redundant, all the years they spent in that is waste.
Gone.
R&D, everything is waste. That is why I am saying, the religions which evolved a systematic theology, books, beliefs, even all these are infrastructure. See, when certain beliefs are given down the generations, it becomes a biomemory of that group.
Yes.
So all the religions built, they are spreading and marketing on weapons, wars, killing, whatever names they may give, all that. Now they are redundant because that system is no more consumed by people.
People are looking somewhere else.
So what is going to be consumed by people is Vakyartha Sadas type of marketing, means understanding and discussion and debate. That kind of a marketing. And see, in argument, we find out who is right. In debate, we find out what is right.
Okay. Yes.
So Hinduism is based on debate, Vakyartha Sadas. Who not who is right, but what is right.
What is right?
So, our whole infrastructure is built for this kind of a people. Fortunately, the product we developed is picking up the market. It's not that we made it.
It
To
is
tell
there.
you honestly,
It is there.
no. For example, this consumeristic brain of the new generation is not created by Hindus, but fortunately, the evolution has led to that, and only we have the product to supply for this.
At the
this
right
brain.
time.
At the right time.
Swamiji, another question for all of us, because we have discussed the purpose of life, the meaning of life, how to find peace, the role of Dharma, how Sanatana Dharma can make a better world, and for all of us. Now, for businessmen, business executives, what is your message to be successful? They have to face competition, there's globalization impacting them, and like you said, consumers want greater choice, so the product life cycle comes down. With all this happening, what do you think, how can businessmen be successful? What is your message to them?
Basically, competition, then value addition, then dharma, means our ethics. Whether in the level of competition, or in the level of value addition, or in the level of dharma, in every level, I see one point can be stable and make yourself current. See, there are some concepts very stable, eternal, but it cannot be current.
Cannot be current.
There are some concepts which are current, but they do not have the eternity support.
Yes.
There is one concept which is eternal and can be current. Means it's as old as sun, as new as sunrise.
As old as sun and as new as sunrise.
Sunrise.
And what is that?
Responsibility established on oneness.
Responsibility.
When we look at the life, whether creating the product or marketing the product or facing the competitors, see, facing the competitors is nothing but the job of Kshatriya. Value addition is the job of the Vaishya. These two,
Design is the
if it
job
is
of the Brahmana.
designed with the context of Brahmana, Dharma is established. Now what I am talking is more like a theory, more like a lines. If I have to get down to every situation, the basic things. See, pharmaceutical companies, when they started developing the chemical-based
Molecules.
medicines, they were not cunning. They were not criminal. It was all with a good motive, very good intention. But when the huge marketing infrastructure is established, and they do not have enough product to supply and sustain the marketing infrastructure, now they are forced to retain their marketing infrastructure. So then morality and the need is compromised. So this is what I call bending the context of a Brahmana. If the Brahmana's context is not bent, and if they take the brunt of, we don't have enough product to supply to maintain this marketing infrastructure, it might have been a hit for them for in one year. But if the context of integrity is kept, the further research and development could have happened.
Okay.
If we compromise on the quality to maintain the infrastructure, further R&D is not required. Cheating is enough to keep us alive. If we don't compromise on the Brahminical Dharma, the context, these two, competition and this value addition, these two will not kill each other.
Will not kill. Innovation
The
and integrity.
competition kills the value addition without making innovation possible. If the competition is maintained, faced with the responsibility of the value addition,
And the
innovation
innovation.
happens.
Innovation happens. And that's the rule for success.
Rule for success. And I tell you, anywhere, when we are hit with the reports, it's collapsing. Our marketing infrastructure is not able to sustain the income which is coming. If we are hit, the reaction comes as a cheating.
Oh,
Less reaction, more action.
more action. And that is a rule for success.
So the leaders need to be more acting, less reacting. Then the decisions will always be without compromising the context of Brahminical principles, dharma. And without, the competition will not kill the value addition.
Swamiji, you spoke about punya. How does punya and business and dharma go together?
I should say,
Is making profit punya?
if we are not allowing the competition kill the value addition, that is punya.
That is punya.
Making profit
Legitimate.
without letting the competition kill the value addition, without letting Vaishya kill Kshatriya, anything you make, you are a Brahmana. It all boils down to competition not becoming cunning and destroying value addition. Value addition, if as long as is kept alive, all profit you make is punya.
All profit you make is
All
punya.
profit you make is punya. One more thing.
So Apple, all the huge profits of Apple is the punya because it's based upon innovation, competition, good
I should
products.
say 100% punya. For example, this chair. To make this chair, it may take 100 rupee. But I have all the right to sell this chair even for 10 lakh rupee. Saying, I sat on this. It's a value addition.
The value.
Because you see, value is only based on what people want. Understand?
Yes.
It is not what all the ingredients put in that. What all the ingredients put in that and what comes out is output. That is not value.
Yes.
Output is different, value is different.
Yes. Yes.
Value is dependent on the people who want it.
Yes.
Its output may be 100 rupee. So when we fix the value, we are not, see, value no way compromises our integrity. For example, if I say I sat on it and fixed the cost as 1 lakh and I have not sat on it, then it's wrong. Then it's lack of integrity.
Yes.
So anywhere if the integrity is maintained to the word and spirit, everything comes as a punya. Everything comes as a punya.
And Swamiji, what is the obligation of business leaders to society? See, today, leaders of society could be from business, could be from politics, could be from other areas. But I'm talking only about business. What is the obligation of business leaders to society at large?
See, if you use the word obligation means
Our responsibility.
if you use the word obligation, I'll answer not compromising on the value addition. Means competition not killing the value addition is the obligation.
Obligation.
Responsibility is all the stress you receive, feedback you receive, pressure you receive should be directed towards innovation. That is responsibility.
That's the responsibility.
Obligation is competition and the survival threats not killing value addition is obligation. And all the survival threats are converted and manifested as innovation is responsibility. When a pattern hits us, completion is obligation, converting that into power is responsibility.
With a final question, how do you see our future? How do you see our society? Do you think the future is going to be much, much better than today and yesterday? Do you see a very bright future for our children?
Fortunately, I am seeing a bright future for children because all the established ruling MNC structures are losing power over individuals. No, please understand. See,
Power structures.
all multinational company power structures.
Yes.
MNCs are losing power over the people. The individual consumer's taste is driving humanity.
It's driving humanity.
Humanity. One great thing is, by the very structure, the individual consumeristic nature will only go towards good, better, best. Whether it is a cup of coffee we drink, or the thought current we cherish while we drink the coffee, or the ideologies we cherish for our life, or the belief systems we cherish about life, in every level, making a product in one corner and bulldozing it and selling it all over the world through the franchisee selling centers, marketing centers, that structure is failing, collapsing.
It's collapsing.
It is collapsing. Whether it's food level or cloth level or ideology level, in all levels, this system is collapsing. Indigenous food style, indigenous clothing style,
Localized.
indigenous thought current religions are gaining power because of consumeristic brain and consumeristic new generation. See, a consumeristic new generation is not going to be satisfied by the marketed products or ideologies or theories. One fortunate thing is, even in the media, the mainstream media is losing power over the people. A corporate media house, which is established infrastructure, need to compromise on truth to retain their establishment and infrastructure, is losing power over the social media guy who has only one iPhone and who is able to put anything he wants in his blog, in his Facebook. He is more trusted, consumed by people than the established media houses.
Yes.
See the whole thing turning.
Yes.
I'm not talking
And is
some
it a turn for the
theories.
better? Turn for the better?
Surely this turn is, you see, now it's a fluttering period. Now
Fluttering
it's a
period.
settling period.
Yes.
But for future, this is best.
And who are going to be the winners? Consumers.
Winners are going to be the consumers and the people who are supplying the best things, who are able to stand the competition without compromising the value addition with the truth of the context. Sanatana Hindu Dharma.
Thank you very much, Swamiji. I think it's
So-
been a very fascinating 2 hours. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this
Thank you.
conversation.
So, end of this discussion, this is the conclusion I wanted to share with you all. Sanatana Hindu Dharma is real, and that only as future.